I am in the mood for some night food. It's nighttime snacking with better sleep in mind, and the founder and CEO, Sean Folkson, is here. The Dos Marcos Show begins right now. Listen to this information we got from Genesis Credit. According to Experian, 40% of Americans have a FICO score below 700. That means 4 of every 10 sales are potentially lost because a customer won't qualify for enough credit or at all through traditional financing. Fact is, customers deserve a second chance at affordable financing, and no one believes that more than Genesis Credit. As the industry's premier second-look financing solution for over 20 years, Genesis provides high revolving credit lines for customers with FICO credit scores above 550. And Genesis wants retailers to know that, hey, if you're seeing lower credit lines and fewer credit approvals from your first finance option, let Genesis Credit take a second look. Find the right fit for your customers' financial needs at genesis-fs.com/thefam. Be honest, how much do you spend each year on product photography?
Aperture's the answer, Kinsley.
Products and more products and vignettes and tens of thousands of dollars in reshoots. I mean, the reshoots. And then it doesn't look consistent.
Aperture is the answer.
Look, the world's changed a lot. And one of the good changes is the tech driving Aperture.
Aperture is the answer.
All right, Quinn, you don't have to say Aperture is the answer anymore. So why don't you go ahead and tell them why?
Because it's the only tech company that Williams-Sonoma ever bought. And for good reason, Kinsley. They had the same problems with product photography, and now they don't. And now you won't.
Let's say you need a mattress photo. Boom. Place that beautiful bed inside Aperture's nifty 20 by 20 beauty box. Press a button, and the Aperture machine does all of the rest. All the lighting and cropping and shadows, all of it. And better yet, once you need a different background or different lighting, no reshoots. Your visual factory in a box does all the work.
And you know what? You save some money, you save some time, and you create product photography that can move at the speed of your ideas. Start today at outwardinc.com and tell them Dos Marcos sent you.
Because why? Aperture's the answer.
Welcome to the Dos Marcos Show with Mark Kinsley and Mark Quinn, where mattress and furniture leaders gather to grow, get the inside scoop, tell stories, and take tequila shots.
Uno, dos, tequila!
The galaxy's greatest mattress podcast has liftoff in
3, 2, 1. Let's enable 7, 8.
Quinn, you've got a World Series smile on your face.
I've got a huge World Series smile on my face. Oh my gosh. I was in Houston for the final game of the World Series, and it was really cool, Kinsley, because my dad is a big Astros fan. We have a lot of family that are Cardinals fans and give us crap all the time for different reasons. And so anyway, when I found out that the Astros were going to be in, back here playing potentially to win it all, I got tickets and took my dad. It was so cool to be there with him. And I sent you the video of his face when we won that game. It was magical. It's like this memory I'm always going to have of the joy he had because he watches all the games. But anyway, so it's really cool from that perspective. But I have to tell you, man, before the game, I found out that Mattress Mac, Jim McIngvale, who was kind enough to write a blurb for us in our book, so he was going to throw out the first pitch. Now, if you're listening to the show and you didn't catch it, but when McIngvale was in Philadelphia, he got into a yelling match with some Philly fans because they were attacking Astros character because of the cheating scandal years ago. And so Jim says, hey, look, man, in a interview after that, he's like dropping the F-bomb, F this, F you, don't come at my Astros. And he said, look, I'm cool if you're going to like attack the Astros and go, oh, we're going to beat you. And, we're going to take you down. Like that kind of banter is fine. But when you start questioning the character of my guys, and of course he knows these people very personally, he's like, then it's on and I have to defend my guys. So anyway, that's the context. So now Jim walks out onto the field to throw the first pitch. Now, and when he walks out onto that field, there's over 42,000 people in that stadium. And I'm telling you, the decibel level rose like 4 or 5 points, and people came alive when he walked out there and he threw that first pitch. And that in this city absolutely loves that guy. And then I thought, what do you have to do as a furniture hawker, as he calls himself, a huckster, right? So a furniture salesman, essentially, to walk out into a stadium, number one, to be asked to throw out the first pitch, and then at the World Series, and then number two, to walk out to a standing ovation by 42,000 people. Like that is such an insurmountable task. But here's this guy who did it, and it just blew me away. And so all I'm saying is, what business are you in as you listen to the show? Whatever you think about Jim, when he walked out to that kind of ovation, I'm like, that guy has done something incredibly smart and special in this town. And what great evidence of it was in that moment in time. So I had to share that story. Being in that building was crazy when he walked out there, and I recorded it. So there you go.
Mark Quinn, play-by-play from the World Series. How cool is that, man? And Jim is just such an icon in this industry. He's the second most known person in Houston, Texas, right behind George Bush. But I would say, I wonder if that's starting to trade places. I wonder if Mattress Mac is now the most well-known person, especially when you're willing to throw hands against the Phillies fans.
Man, I'm telling you, when that video went viral, he was like, F you, like really defending Houston. So I think when he got back here, Houston was like, yeah, Jim's got our back. He was in Philly representing. Now, Jim also just won $75 million doing that. So anyway, but way more importantly, like I'm going to tell you, Kinsley, why we were there. We were in a suite, and they had hot dogs and hamburgers and fajitas and ice cream, and the bad kind of ice cream, not the kind of ice cream our guest has. But I got done eating so much crappy food, Sean. When I went home, I had a bellyache. I felt like I was 6 years old again, and my dad forgot to tell me, don't eat that chili with that ice cream. It's not going to work for you. And, of course, I got a really crappy night of sleep. So thank God in heaven you are here.
We're here to save the world.
Well, Sean Folkson, you're the CEO and founder of Nightfood, and our good friend of the show, friend of the industry, ultimate connector, Todd Weinstein, got us hooked up, and he said, number one, you got to know about Nightfood. You got to know Sean. He crushes it on QVC, I think was something he said. But you got to tell us about you and tell us what is Nightfood, because you said it's formulated by sleep and nutrition experts, a delicious treat that's not going to kill your diet and wreck your sleep like what happened to Quinn. Give us the backstory of this and tell us about you.
Well, I mean, I'm a longtime nighttime snacker, and I knew it was a problem for me. I would try to make healthy choices all day, and it was always a lot easier to make good decisions at 9 or 10 a.m. than it was at 9 or 10 p.m. And I realized that wasn't just me. Now, when I started the company, I didn't have all the statistics and all the research and all the experts that I could just speed dial, right? It was just a guy. It was just me. But what we now know is that humans are actually wired at night to crave excess calories, to put more energy inside of our bodies as a survival mechanism, just like, bears before they hibernate for winter, they pack on all this weight and it helps them survive through that period. So it's a survival mechanism. So the snacking is not going to go away, right? Over 80% of us snack regularly at night. The most popular choices are exactly what you would expect: cookies, chips, candy, and ice cream. Okay, because they're loaded with sugar, they're loaded with fat, they're loaded with calories. You can't, if you're eating carrot sticks or celery sticks, you're not going to put those calories into your body that you're kind of wired to do. So those things are not efficient enough. The most efficient way to put calories in is through these super high calorie junk snacks. So knowing that the snacking is not going to stop, what we did is we took the approach of, if we were to talk to a sleep expert, a sleep doctor, or hundreds of them, and say, look, your patients are going to be snacking at night. They're going to have ice cream. Millions of people every night across the United States have ice cream between dinner and bed. What should it have more of? What should it have less of? Okay. And then the same question with cookies, the same question now as we're, starting to develop chips. It's the concept of sleep friendly is what we call it. We're building this new category, nighttime snacking, because people know intuitively that they shouldn't be eating this stuff, but this is how we're wired. cravings are up at night, willpower is down, and people feel bad about it. They're exhibiting the behavior, they feel guilty, and it's not something that happens just once or twice a week. It might happen once or twice a week, or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 times a week, but it goes on for decades on end. It's not a finite process. It's something people wrestle with for their whole adult lives. So we think it's something really powerful where we can help people, if they're going to be snacking at night, which we know many of them are, to just do it in a more sleep-friendly way.
Sean, this is such a big topic, especially right now, because I talk to many of my friends in this industry that are focused on sleep, and the conversation around nutrition in relation to sleep has bubbled up as a prominent point of conversation lately. And one of the things we've talked a lot about behind the scenes is sugar. You know, sugar, and sugar being an empty calorie, sugar being something that ignites your system and actually prevents really good sleep. So take us into the formulation of night food. What research went into it, the sleep doctors you worked with, the nutrition experts you worked with, and what actually makes something sleep friendly?
Yeah, so you touched on one big thing is sugar, right? You want something that's much lower glycemic before bed, and it's kind of insidious for people. So I think the feedback loop is very imperfect. Okay, a feedback loop, let's say with caffeine, is probably a little bit more precise. You have too much caffeine late in the day, you cannot fall asleep, and you connect those two things right away because they offer that connection up. But a lot of times at night, when you have these high sugar, high fat snacks, you actually do not have a problem falling asleep. Everybody knows the concept of food coma. We're coming up on Thanksgiving. It's a real thing. So what happens is your sleep quality can be very much impaired. All right. So, but because you fall asleep okay, people don't connect. Oh, I really shouldn't have the ice cream at night because it keeps me up. That's a much more precise and impactful feedback loop than, oh, I had ice cream, I fell asleep just fine, I was in bed for 7 or 8 hours, but I wake up feeling, but I don't have any energy, so I go out and I grab a 5-hour energy or a cup of Starbucks, right? And people don't make that connection. They just assume that that's how it's supposed to be. So sugar is a big problem because, people talk about, oh, if I have sugar, I'll be jacked up. Well, yeah, that lasts for about a half hour to 45 minutes, and then you get that insulin crash and you feel drowsy. So people don't get that feedback, and they are able to fall asleep. But, sugar, fat, calories, anything that really taxes the body's digestive system and forces the body to allocate resources away from the recovery and rejuvenation that's supposed to happen. And there's a lot of things that can help you fall asleep that will impair sleep quality. Eating the wrong thing is one of them. Having too much alcohol at night, I think everybody's familiar with that. Nobody confuses the fact that you fall asleep easily after you have a few drinks with good quality sleep. And I would imagine getting hit on the head with a frying pan is another example. You fall asleep, right? But you feel like garbage when you wake up. So I think nutrition, yeah, it's definitely starting to become a topic. A lot of the big food and beverage companies are starting to talk about it. And honestly, there's more that we're going to learn over the coming years about specific nutrients, specific ingredients. For us, we stay focused on the big picture macro stuff. Typically, night food snacks are going to be less sugar, less fat, fewer calories, more protein, definitely more prebiotic fiber. That's a big one. And then we identify ingredients and nutrients that can work in a specific format. So, for instance, talk about Thanksgiving. Our ice cream has about twice as much tryptophan as a pint of regular ice cream. We wouldn't try to go for high tryptophan in something like chips. It wouldn't necessarily make sense. So for each format, we identify what can we do that would make that more sleep friendly, as opposed to feeling like we've got this ingredient or this combo of ingredients that we try to force into every snack that we make. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, literally and figuratively, if what you're eating is not delicious, you're not going to stick with it. And what's the point?
Sean, I am so fascinated by this. Kinsley, you and I talk a lot about, education being such an important part of what this industry has to do. So it's the education around products can help deliver good sleep, can help you live a better quality of life. Like a lot of people don't connect the dots, Sean. And I think about what you're doing and I'm like, oh my gosh, like talk about education, right? Like this topic would require so much education because I'm guessing, and I want you to talk to us about this, but like when you talk to people that like hotels or when you tell people the business you're in and you go, it's really about sleep food or food that's like, do people just look at you like, what does that even mean? And like, do you feel like there's just this massive rock you have to move and just helping people understand that diet can make a huge impact on the quality of sleep, not getting to sleep, right? But the quality of sleep and then how you feel the next day. Is that like a huge piece of the puzzle for you?
I think a big part of the I won't say misunderstanding, but the initial misconception is when people hear about what we're doing, they assume it's got ingredients to knock you out and it's about getting to sleep. The nuance of sleep quality, I feel, is the toughest nuance for people to get. I think a lot of people feel you're either like a computer, you're awake or you're asleep. But that's, we know that that's not the case. So sleep quality is what's really important. But I do want to stress to you guys, so we're not in the sleep business. We're not trying to solve the sleep problem. We're trying to solve the nighttime snacking problem. And the main problem with nighttime snacking, there's two. One is that it's generally unhealthy. The other one is that it's generally sleep disruptive. Okay. Now there's a lot of companies out there, a lot of snack companies that have come out with healthier versions, better for you snacks. And they've stolen billions of dollars in market share from the legacy brands. But our question is, if you're going to be snacking at night, how can something you eat really be better for you if it wasn't also formulated with better sleep in mind? So that's, while we're solving the nighttime snacking problem, what makes us unique is that we are addressing it from a perspective of better sleep quality. And in terms of the education, it is a very heavy lift. And that's why we're focusing our attention on hotel distribution, where what we've found early on now in our hotel rollout is that when people see these snacks, Nightfood snacks, it says sleep friendly right on the package. When they see that in the hotel, it makes sense. There's context, and it reinforces to that guest that what you eat before bed must be important, or else the hotel wouldn't have these snacks in there. And so our goal is to be in tens of thousands of hotels. People will see us everywhere. And while it may not be a full education, it will be an awareness. On our cookies, for instance, I don't know if you guys can show a picture, but it says what you eat before bed matters in big, bold letters. And that's the message. As people accept that truth, then the whole category comes to life. They don't need to necessarily understand all the nuance of it, but it is important, what you eat before bed matters.
Talking with Sean Folkson. Sean, you are the CEO and founder of Nightfood, and I looked at your LinkedIn, and have you been at this for 12 years?
Yes.
Okay, so now you're in hundreds of stores. I noticed you have a very strong presence in the Pacific Northwest, in the Chicagoland area. You're in a couple of hundred hotels. What's this journey been like, just from being an entrepreneur? Were there certain inflection points along the way?
Yeah, I mean, certainly. So I think a lot of people would have given up. What we're trying to do is not easy. It's hard. We're trying to create a category. And consumers think in categories, but to a consumer, a category is really another word for problem. So, the thing that's always kept me going is that the problem that we are working to solve is one that is massive. It's shared by a lot of people. They feel it emotionally, and there has to be a solution for it. This is not a habit, this nighttime snacking. It's not a fad, right? It's hardwired biologically, and Americans combine to spend well over $1 billion a week on snacks consumed between dinner and bed. We know what the most popular choices are. We know what they're doing to people's sleep. So the idea of giving up when things got tough a few times, I guess it crosses your mind, but the reality of it is this category is inevitable, in my opinion, 100% inevitable. And I'm either going to be the guy who sees it through, or, we give up and then somebody else comes along and turns this into $1 billion category. So it's been a very long journey. We've made some mistakes. We've learned a lot along the way. When we started, we didn't have all the I can throw out all the statistics and everybody can believe, wow, yes, that does seem to be inevitable. At the time, when I started this, I never would have believed how significant the statistics were in our favor. I never had the understanding of the science behind the cravings. So while it's been a long time and we're still not there yet, the odds of me giving up over time have actually decreased. We're just going to keep going until we solve it. I think the hotels, this is the turning point. This year is when we got into our first hotel chain earlier this year. And that is the turning point. The whole hotel industry is going to have to come on board. You guys remember, or I'm sure you know about the hotel betting wars, right? One chain, the Heavenly Bed, they put it in, and within a couple of years, every chain in the industry was spending hundreds of millions, billions across the, at the flag level on their mattresses, their sheets, their pillows, and it was all to keep up. Now that we're in our first hotel chain, listen, you go into the average hotel lobby shop and you're going to see Twizzlers and Cheetos and Klondike bars and, Nutter Butter cookies. And that's fine. They can keep selling that stuff. But in my opinion, they can't keep selling that stuff without also offering sleep-friendly options for their guests. They're in the sleep business. They can't just keep going business as usual. So my opinion, first, the hotel industry starts to shift. We're already outselling brands like Haagen-Dazs and Ben & Jerry's and lots of the properties that we're in. The hotel industry shifts. We start rolling into more and more hotel chains. From there, we can roll into mainstream supermarkets. And I wanted to do hotels when we first started. I remember walking around Manhattan with a backpack full of nutrition bars, which is what we first launched. The lobby shops were not evolved yet. If you think back 10 years ago, it was just vending machines, maybe a couple of snacks out. Now it's like a mini convenience store in a lot of these hotels. So the vehicle is there for us. And, I'm just more excited than I was the first day I started the company.
Well, Sean, you've been at it for a while, but honestly, think about your journey. All the, the good entrepreneurial podcasts, the show, How I Built This, consistency over time is always a big one, right?
Yep.
And so did you ever imagine that you would be so successful that you were on the galaxy's greatest mattress podcast? I mean, just use that as some measure of like your efforts and like where it landed you, right?
Yeah, it's going to be hard not to get complacent at this point, after today.
Stop. Okay.
But,
so,
just like the Astros, they just want to repeat, Yeah,
right. No doubt. No, we're glad you're here. But Kinsley, what this reminds me of so much, Sean, I love your spirit, man. And I love that you're in there fighting. And for what it's worth, I think you're right. I mean, like this was one of those moments, Kinsley, where I'm listening to Sean talk and I'm like, holy shit, like he's right. Like food in hotels. And I'm the guy, Sean. I'll go to dinner and have a great, steak dinner at some place. And I'll go to my hotel and I'll go to that little cafe. And what do? I go for a Reese's cup or something like just, I just had dinner. It's like the dumbest thing ever. And if your product was there and I could pick it, I would definitely pick it. But Kinsley, here's the thing. You and I love the book 22 Immutable Laws of Marketing, right? It's timeless. It was written a long time ago. Sean, I don't know if you've read that book
Reese
yet.
and Trout.
But what's that?
Reese and Trout, right?
Yeah, exactly. And one of the rules in there is if your category doesn't exist, build your own. Kinsley and I did it in the mattress category with the hybrid mattress category, and you did it in food with Nightfood. I mean, it's remarkable. I think you're onto something, no question about it. And it gets me fired up because Mark and I talked about the ecosystem of sleep. It's not just about a mattress and a bed and the pillow and all that. It is about stress and your heart and your mind and food and smells and light and temperature and Like, so this is just fits absolutely perfect. Don't you think, Kinsley, if you go back to the immutable laws, he's blazing his own trail, and that's what you got to do.
Yeah, you got to find a category where you can be the world's first or the only one. And you've definitely planted that seed to be the first. I mean, when Todd got us connected, I'd never heard of sleep-friendly food, except foods like you described that might be meant to knock you out, or drinks meant to knock you out. And of course, we don't subscribe to that. We want healthy options that actually encourage good sleep, not something that's going to put you under, because we know that anything that kind of knocks you out tends to prevent deep restorative REM rest. I want to go back to something that you talked about in the hotel space, Sean, and that was around this idea of getting into these hotel lobbies that are more developed like small stores now. I conducted this research project around boutique hotels, and I've talked about this on the past show, but it's really fascinating to me that what drives people into the boutique hotel space is not surprising. They want a more fun and unique, a better location, more luxurious. But once they're on property, out of 20 different options, the number one thing they said was most important for them was the comfort of a mattress. And number two, out of 20 options, was getting a good night's sleep. So I think, positioning your product as a complement to what people most value is going to pay dividends, because even as I'm looking at this list of 20 different items, you're getting down to, the coffee maker is down toward the bottom. The quality and availability of a coffee shop is down near the bottom. What matters is that good night's sleep. So attaching food to that, I think, is a no-brainer.
Yeah, and it's funny because I think I don't know if as much in the boutique space, but I know that in the mainstream space, I feel like they've kind of lost their way. Even when I speak to local hotel operators, I stop in and they're just like, well, we just put in whatever sells, whatever sells the most, like without a thought of, the hotels have invested billions in the mattresses and the pillows and the blackout curtains and the white noise machines because they know sleep is important. They all talk about it. They all talk about sleep is important. We'll do everything for our guests to sleep. And then you go into that lobby shop, and not only are there typically no healthy options, well, if there are anything that's even supposed to be healthy, it's typically an energy bar, right? Like a Cliff Bar, which is, their tagline is nutrition for sustained energy. So why is a hotel making that the only option? They know guests are in there eating the stuff at night. It's amazing that, it's kind of a forgotten frontier, a forgotten touch point for the hotel. It's a missed opportunity because they talk about sleep and they have made serious investments in sleep. They know how important it is. It's not just you and me and now the people that heard it on the podcast. They know how important it is. And yet when it comes to nutrition, they've just missed it. And it doesn't make anybody bad, but they now have the opportunity to fix it. So let's do it.
Well, and so many different entities out there are aware of the data. They understand diabetes, health conditions. They understand this trend toward eating healthy. They understand that people are gaining more knowledge about nutrition and they have an awareness of health. So making sure that they present those options, I think it's going to be a good brand building activity for those different properties that invest in it. And speaking of investment, Sean, is really cool. I think our audience would find this fascinating. You actually are funding the company and offering investment opportunities to pretty much anybody. How does this work?
Yeah, so it's called equity crowdfunding, and anybody can invest directly in the company. They can learn about our mission and about the investment opportunity at invest.nightfood.com. We're already publicly traded, so people can just, if they have an E-Trade account or TD Ameritrade, they can just go and buy and sell shares of our stock. But the opportunity to invest directly comes with not just shares, but also warrants, which allow you to purchase equity in the future at a fixed price. So it's a really interesting opportunity. We're super excited about the category that we're creating. Look, it's not just me. So I mentioned that I'm more excited now than ever. when I started this, there wasn't much information, but I'll tell you, in the last couple of years, companies like Nestle, Unilever, Pepsi, they've got executives coming out and saying how important, people are starting to think about wanting to make healthier choices specifically before bed. The CMO of Pepsi and CMO of Pepsi in this instance is not the chief marketing officer, but the chief medical officer. And Pepsi is the, I think, second largest food and beverage company in the world, said, look, we know that if we're going to be in functional nutrition, we need to be focused on sleep. Unilever just launched, last year, a research project to look at how what we eat can influence the gut microbiome, specifically for the purpose of leading to better sleep. So these are some of the largest food and beverage companies in the world. The CEO of Kellogg's, CEO of Mondelez, talking about knowing what people are eating at night and how they tend to make more indulgent and less healthy choices at night. These are the largest food and beverage companies in the world. We are attacking this nighttime snack category. There's over $1 billion a week being spent. And once we prove that people care, and we can help make people care by providing the education that you guys are talking about, these big companies will have no choice but to figure out how do they want to address this problem, this nighttime snacking problem, and what are they going to do for the consumer. So we think we're in a really great strategic position. People can learn about all this and decide if they want to make an investment, but we think we're pioneering $1 billion category here.
Hey, Sean, have you done anything around quantitative sets, right? So any kind of research, like just a thought, like if you're going to like say, hey, if you have a pint of ice cream and then you have a pint of ours, this is the difference. I've seen some of these things on TikTok and other social media where they're taking glucose levels real time. Like some of that might be interesting. Have you done any of that to quantify it?
We did a study a couple of years ago. It was partly qualitative. We also did collect Fitbit data. The qualitative data, the self-reporting information, which really is the gold standard in terms of sleep, typically more so than what the gadgets report back, was very, very positive. Consumers indicated they slept better, they woke up more refreshed. For instance, when having night food compared to a couple of the other major ice cream brands. The quantitative data was much more mixed, as you guys know. And in fact, one of our advisors, Dr. Michael Grandner, who helped us with the study, he's an expert in the gadget space, and he's opined quite a bit about it, that sometimes they can do more harm than good. So the quantitative metrics were a little bit mixed. It was hard to see a clear story there, but the self-reporting data, which again is the gold standard, the feedback was very positive on having night food compared to having a pint of traditional full fat, full sugar ice cream, which, typically there's going to be 3 to 4 times the fat, the calories, 3 to 4 times the sugar, literally 10 times more fat in those, in a serving of Ben and Jerry's or Haagen-Dazs compared to a serving of night food.
Well, Sean, we are so thankful that you're pioneering this category, because I think that at any touch point, when we can introduce the conversation about sleep, you're introducing a conversation about health. And when people think about the decisions they make throughout the day, even if they make small decisions during nighttime snacking that are better for them, that could lead to better sleep. That could lead to better decisions during the day, and overall a healthier person, a healthier society. So I know that's thinking big, but I think we should. I think we should think big. And I love where you're going with this company. Yeah, it's really fascinating to see all of this unfold, especially since sleep science is fairly nascent, and we're trying to connect these dots to this broader sleep economy. And we appreciate you being on the show. Did we miss anything that you want to leave our audience with? Did we not ask you anything?
I mean, we've touched on everything. I can go on for hours, so I don't want to do that. I mean, we can always delve deeper. I know we'll probably be talking more. So I think we touched on really all the important stuff. And the main thing to point out, though, is that, you just talked about sleep hygiene. People may or may not think of it this way, but, you could do the same exact thing 10 days in a row in terms of, the amount of exercise you get, the sunlight you get, the screen time you have, what you eat throughout the day for breakfast, lunch, dinner, before bed. Your sleep is going to be up and down. I think that, we want to let people know not to try to micromanage the output of sleep, but to maybe micromanage or at least manage the inputs that we can provide. That better mattress, the clean bedding, the cool and dark sleep environment. Take care of those things. The sleep will take care of itself, hopefully, and the sleep will take care of you.
And if you're going to try any flavor, I tried all 5 that I received. Sorry, Quinn. I promise I'm going to get them to you.
Don't eat mine.
I always got to go to vanilla as my standard bearer, and I really enjoyed it. It had a nice creamy texture to it. And I've been on a very low sugar journey here for the past couple of weeks just to reduce the amount of sugar intake I had. And so I was very appreciative of how low sugar it was. But I have to say, my favorite was the bed and breakfast. It was a home run.
Yeah, that's maple ice cream. It's maple ice cream with waffle chunks, and it just blows people away.
It's
I
a
can't
winner.
wait. That's good stuff. Kinsley, don't be eating all of it. I gotta have someone when I get back to Arkansas. Sean, you're awesome for being here, man. Really, we're really grateful to you. And I'm with Kinsley, man. I think guys like you doing new things like this, that fires us up. There's clearly an unmet need, and we are so glad that we get to be part of your story and kind of telling it here to this audience who's going to love it as well. And if you're listening, hey, you're on a treadmill, you're out running around, whatever it is, we're grateful to you for tuning into the show. You guys make it what it is, and because of that, you're a big part of the fam, and we're glad. So go out, give Mr. Kinsley and his hair a 5-star review, please, and wherever you follow us on iTunes or any of those other places. God, what else is there? Oh, Spotify, that's a place, wherever you listen to us. But anyway, Kinsley, anything else from you?
Sean, thanks so much for being here, and invest.nightfood.com and then nightfood.com to find the goods. And then, of course, there's a store locator on there if you want to find it in your local area. And be on the lookout for Night Food during your next stay at America's Fine Hotels.
Thank you, guys.
What is a hybrid? It's like peanut butter jelly, peanut butter chocolate. Hybrid so tight, there's no way that you could topple it. Hybrid on my wrist, that's a calculator watch. We add ourselves together and we take it up a notch.
Got the airflow, yo, keep you cool as it get. Visco foam alone to make you drip sweat. Get a hybrid mattress, yes, you'll get better rest. Cool and comfortable, hybrid like a sweater vest.
You know the game, we're ahead of the sun. Cause the two of us together are way better than one. Cause I'm cool as ice
and I'm hot like a heater.
Bounce by the ounce, now we got it by the liter.
Well, you take a spring and you wrap it up right. You can sleep so smooth or bounce all night.
Yeah.
Put two together, get a whole lot more. Get the feel of the comfort core.
You can bounce on it.
Lay back, you don't have to practice. It's the best thing to happen to your mattress.
Yeah.
Get together to do it like I did. Everybody get hybrid.
If you want somebody to get in your vicinity, you probably want to feel a little bit of a hybridity. Foam alone, out of 5, maybe 1 star. Springs and foam, we're taking care of that lumbar. Mad back support, the best way to shack up or just get rest that won't mess your back up.
Like a hot chick mixed with a particle physicist or a mullet. Party in the back of the business. Best of both worlds like Mars and Venus.
The ultimate hybrid.
Nothing short of genius.
Keeping it loose while keeping it tight. We can make you sleep or play all night. Put two together, get a whole lot more. Get the feel of the comfort core.
You can bounce on it.
No stopping when the beat gets played back. Springs keep it popping, foam keeps it laid back. Party over here, get invited. Everybody get hybrid.
Listen, doesn't matter if your kitchen is charming when your bedroom's the most important part of the apartment. What kind of bed do you keep back there? Does your girl want to chill on a beanbag chair? Hell no.
You need springs and foam, cause if that bowling ball don't bounce, you'll be sleeping alone.
And if the bed don't react, then you can't get low. We got that type of bounce that won't spill your Merlot.
So stick with us and you'll get rewarded.
Cause I'm so gentle
and I'm so supportive.
Hybrid is where the magic is.
And we just killed a song about mattresses.